Good evening. Tonight we focus on a growing crisis in East Asia, between China and Japan. Decades of uneasy peace are unraveling as military drills intensify and old wounds resurface. The world is watching as these two giants edge closer to confrontation, with global consequences at stake. In this special report, we'll break down the three flashpoints that could ignite a catastrophic conflict. Let's examine what could push China and Japan, and the world, over the edge. The first and most dangerous trigger in East Asia, the Taiwan question. This small island, just 100 miles off the coast of China, sits at the heart of a geopolitical storm. Its fate could reshape the balance of power in the entire region, and perhaps the world. For China, Taiwan is not just a neighbor. It is a breakaway province, a piece of unfinished business from the civil war that ended in 1949. The Chinese government, under President Xi Jinping, has made reunification a core national goal, insisting that it will use force if necessary. Beijing's rhetoric grows sharper each year, and its military posture more aggressive. For Japan, the stakes are equally high. A Chinese takeover of Taiwan would put Japan's vital sea lanes, lifelines for energy and trade, at risk. The waters around Taiwan are some of the busiest in the world, and any disruption could cripple Japan's economy and threaten its national security. In recent years, Japan's leaders have broken decades of silence, openly declaring that Taiwan's security is inseparable from their own. This marks a dramatic shift in Japanese policy, signaling a new willingness to act if Taiwan is threatened. Behind closed doors, government officials debate scenarios and contingency plans, aware that their decisions could shape the region's future. The Japanese self-defense forces are no longer just watching from the sidelines. They are shifting resources south, conducting joint drills with the United States, and preparing for the possibility of a conflict over Taiwan. These exercises are not just symbolic, they are rehearsals for a crisis that feels increasingly likely. China, in turn, responds with relentless air and naval incursions, sending fighter jets and warships near Taiwan's airspace and waters almost daily. These maneuvers are more than shows of force. They are rehearsals for war, designed to intimidate Taiwan and test the resolve of its allies. Each maneuver, each incursion, brings the region closer to the edge. The risk of a deadly miscalculation, a radar blip mistaken for an attack, a ship straying too close, grows with every passing day. The margin for error is razor thin. The United States, bound by security treaties to both Taiwan and Japan, is drawn ever deeper into the standoff. American warships conduct freedom of navigation operations through the Taiwan Strait, signaling that Washington will not back down. Each passage is a message, to Beijing, to Tokyo, and to Taipei, that the U.S. is watching and ready to act. In this tense environment, any clash, an accidental collision, a misinterpreted move, a single shot fired in anger, could ignite a conflict that draws in all three powers. The world has seen how quickly crises can spiral out of control. Diplomatic channels are strained to the breaking point. Trust between the major players has eroded, replaced by suspicion and contingency planning. Both sides are preparing for the worst, even as they hope to avoid it. For China, the Taiwan issue is about sovereignty and national pride. For Japan, it is about survival and the security of its people. For Taiwan, it is a daily existential threat, a question of whether their democracy and way of life can endure. The region is a tinderbox, with nerves stretched to the limit. The smallest spark, a misunderstanding, a provocation, or a sudden escalation, could set off a chain reaction with consequences far beyond East Asia. This is the first flashpoint, one that keeps leaders in Beijing, Tokyo, and Washington awake at night. In the corridors of power, the question is not if a crisis will come, but when and how it will end. The fate of Taiwan hangs in the balance, and with it, the future of peace, or war, in East Asia. The world watches, holding its breath. The second trigger, Yonaguni. This tiny, windswept island marks the westernmost edge of Japan, perched just 68 miles from the coast of Taiwan. Its location is no accident of geography. It is a sentinel, standing watch over one of the world's most volatile flashpoints. From Yonaguni's rocky shores, the lights of Taiwan are visible on a clear night, a constant reminder of how close these islands are to the heart of the Taiwan Strait crisis. Once a quiet outpost known for its wild horses and diving spots, Yonaguni has been transformed almost overnight. Now, it bristles with newly installed Japanese missile batteries, radar stations, and reinforced bunkers. The Type 12 surface-to-ship missile system, gleaming under the island's sun, is a clear signal. Japan is determined to deter any Chinese aggression in these waters. These advanced missiles can strike ships and aircraft hundreds of miles away, creating a deadly gauntlet for any Chinese invasion force. Their range covers not just the waters around Yonaguni, but also the vital sea lanes that connect China to the Pacific. Any hostile fleet approaching Taiwan or the Japanese islands would have to run this gauntlet, risking destruction before ever reaching their targets. For Tokyo, the message is unmistakable. The deployment of these missiles is a public declaration. Any attack on Taiwan will not go unanswered. Japan is no longer content to watch from the sidelines. Instead, it is signaling its willingness to resist, to stand shoulder to shoulder with its allies in the face of growing threats. For Beijing, however, the move is deeply provocative. Chinese officials have condemned Japan's actions, accusing Tokyo of rearming and threatening China's security. The presence of Japanese missiles so close to the mainland is seen as a direct challenge to China's ambitions and a dangerous escalation in the region. China's response has been furious and unyielding. State media have drawn comparisons to the Cuban Missile Crisis, warning that the deployment of missiles on Yonaguni could spark a similar confrontation. The specter of nuclear brinkmanship now hangs over the East China Sea as both sides dig in and prepare for the worst. The US-Japan alliance adds another layer of complexity. Any strike on Yonaguni would not just be an attack on Japan, but could trigger immediate American intervention. US forces are already present in the region, conducting joint exercises and reinforcing the island's defenses. Military drills have intensified, with Japanese and US forces rehearsing for every possible scenario: amphibious landings, missile strikes, and rapid deployments. Meanwhile, China conducts its own war games just across the water, sending a clear message that it is ready to respond with force if necessary. For the people of Yonaguni, life has changed dramatically. Once a peaceful fishing community, the island is now on the front lines of a potential great power conflict. Residents worry that their home could become ground zero in a future war, caught between the ambitions of distant capitals. The deployment has also stirred nationalist resentment in China, reviving memories of past humiliations and fueling calls for a tougher stance against Japan. Protests have erupted in Chinese cities, with demonstrators demanding that Beijing take decisive action to defend its interests. Yonaguni has become a symbol of the new arms race in East Asia, a tripwire that could pull the United States and China into direct conflict. The world watches as the standoff intensifies, knowing that a single miscalculation could have catastrophic consequences. The missiles on Yonaguni are more than just hardware. They represent a point of no return. Their presence signals a commitment to defend, but also a willingness to escalate if provoked. In any crisis, their existence makes a preemptive strike by China a real and terrifying possibility. Military planners on both sides now factor Yonaguni into their calculations, knowing that the island could be the first target in a wider war. This is the second flashpoint, a physical, irreversible shift that raises the stakes for everyone involved. The balance of power in the region has changed, and the world is left to wonder what will happen next. The powder keg is primed, and the world holds its breath, waiting to see if the spark will come. The third trigger is psychological, a war of words, nationalism, and posturing. In the modern era, conflict is not always sparked by bullets or bombs, but by the stories nations tell themselves and each other. The battle for public opinion, the shaping of national identity, and the relentless drumbeat of media narratives can be just as potent as any weapon. Chinese media stoke memories of Japanese wartime atrocities, fueling public anger and justifying military buildup. State broadcasters replay images of past suffering, invoking a sense of historical grievance and national unity. The wounds of the past are kept fresh, not only as a reminder, but as a rallying cry for a new generation. Japanese leaders, once cautious, now speak openly of the China threat, boosting defense budgets and acquiring long-range missiles. Parliamentary debates echo with warnings about regional instability, and the public is told that vigilance is the price of peace. The language of defense becomes the language of deterrence. Each side sees the other's moves as aggression, creating a feedback loop of suspicion and escalation. Diplomatic meetings grow tense, and military parades become shows of strength rather than celebrations of peace. Every gesture is scrutinized, every word weighed for hidden meaning. Military posturing intensifies. China and Russia circle Japan with joint patrols. These maneuvers are broadcast as proof of resolve and unity. The message is clear. Alliances are being tested, and the balance of power is shifting. Japan and the US respond with their own drills. Warships cut through contested waters, and fighter jets roar overhead. Each exercise is a signal, a warning, and a rehearsal for what might come. The line between exercise and real conflict blurs dangerously. With every maneuver, the risk of miscalculation grows. Soldiers and sailors operate on a hair trigger, knowing that a single mistake could have consequences far beyond the horizon. Communication channels are weak. Unlike the Cold War's red phone, Beijing and Tokyo lack reliable crisis hotlines. In moments of crisis, the ability to talk, clarify, and de-escalate is limited. Misunderstandings can fester, and opportunities for diplomacy slip away. A single incident, a collision, a misread maneuver, could spiral out of control, with public pressure making de-escalation nearly impossible. Crowds gather outside embassies, demanding action, while military commanders brace for the worst. Political rhetoric sets red lines that leaders can't easily walk back, making compromise difficult. The language of ultimatums replaces the language of negotiation, and every concession is seen as weakness. Social media and nationalist commentators amplify the tension, drowning out voices of moderation. Online outrage spreads faster than reason, and the loudest voices are often the most extreme. The digital echo chamber magnifies every slight, every perceived insult. Both sides now view the other as the aggressor, interpreting every move through a hostile lens. Analysts and officials prepare for the worst, convinced that the other side is just waiting for an excuse to strike. This toxic atmosphere makes war not just possible, but thinkable. The unthinkable becomes part of daily conversation, and the threshold for conflict lowers with every passing day. The first shot might not be a missile, but a speech, a patrol, or a viral news story. In this environment, information itself becomes a weapon, capable of inflaming passions and provoking action. In this war of wills, the temptation to never back down could lead to disaster. Pride and fear become indistinguishable, and leaders find themselves trapped by their own words. The psychological trigger is set. One misstep could unleash catastrophe. The world watches, holding its breath, as the margin for error narrows to nothing. The world is on edge. In this climate of suspicion and fear, the smallest spark could ignite a firestorm, and the consequences would reach far beyond the region. The war of words and wills is not just a contest between nations. It is a test of humanity's ability to step back from the brink. We've seen the three flashpoints: Taiwan Yonaguni's missiles and the war of words. Each is a lit fuse, burning toward a powder keg that could reshape the world. War isn't inevitable, but the risk of escalation is higher than ever. A single incident could trigger a chain reaction, drawing in the US and risking global conflict. The hope for peace remains, but only if we recognize the dangers and act with urgency. Thank you for watching.